Hello and welcome to the Building Podcast. Now, we all know construction is a skilled profession requiring high levels of competence within the workforce. And today we are looking at construction training to better understand its origin, its controls, and how it meets industry needs. I'm joined by Jason Howe, who's a technical advisor for construction, green skills, and the built environment at City and Guilds. City and Guilds are one of the cornerstone awarding bodies for qualifications in our sector. So Jason's ideally placed to talk us through some of these issues. I'm going to be particularly keen to find out how we maintain and adapt the gold standard of apprenticeships to meet our changing industry, and how qualification standards may have to adapt to meet the changing abilities of our students. So welcome, Jason. Welcome to the Building Podcast.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for inviting us along. Really looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, not at all. Looking forward to finding out a bit more about City and Guilds and what we go through and how you manage to control the quality of our qualifications. Jason, we normally start by asking you to give a bit of an introduction to yourself and perhaps the role of City and Guilds, and it allows our listeners then to sort of put you into some sort of context for the discussion we then have. So over to you.
As you mentioned, my name is Jason Howe. I am a technical advisor at City and Guilds for construction and the built environment, but I'm also a carpenter. That is my trade, that is my background. So I am from the construction sector. And after a career in the trade, I transitioned into further education, where I worked at a number of colleges in the beautiful northeast of England. And the opportunity to join City and Guilds back in 2020 was too good an opportunity to refuse, and it's something I've been working with City and Guilds as a consultant since 2012, so I've got that longer relationship with the organisation, and I was super proud to join City and Guilds after a very good career in further education in the northeast.
Brilliant. Well, as I say, City and Guilds is one of the cornerstone. I call it a cornerstone awarding body because they touch absolutely everything within our industry. And you'll know as a carpenter that you've probably come through all the City and Guilds qualifications yourself, haven't you?
Yes, I've got my City and Guilds. Yes, absolutely.
Brilliant. Well, do you want to just sort of talk around about some of the breadth of qualifications that City and Guilds actually touches within our industry?
I mean, within construction, City and Guilds have such a long legacy. The organisation actually started in 1878 after a merger of the livery companies based out of London. And from that, City and Guilds Institute of London was essentially created. And over their journey, they've had such a rich heritage and like I said, legacy with construction. And that term, I've got my City and Guilds, is not something that's said lightly. It is something that said it has been a mark of quality within the sector for many years, even to the point where we even got a mention on TalkSport the other week when I was driving home in my car. I heard of an electrician who'd fixed some football lights at a ground, and one of the presenters said, have you got your City and Guilds? And it was like one of those moments where you wanted to record it, but you're driving along, you've got to stay safe. So, and that's how people recognise City and Guilds, as the industry standard. That's a little bit about sort of the history of the organisation, how we come about. We are a charitable organisation as well. So we have ourselves as City and Guilds, we have the foundation, but what a lot of people may not know is City and Guilds is much more than that now. The strategic direction the organisation went in through our leader, our CEO at the minute, Kirsty, and previous ones before that was yes, we're an awarding organisation, but we offer so much more. We offer training as well now, and we have a number of different companies that's within our group and within our City and Guilds organisation now. But from construction, we do everything from your basic trades down from sort of entry level, level 1, right the way up to level 4, 5, into the leadership stuff. And we're always looking at how we can develop and evolve our portfolio within construction. What are the things that employers need from their workforce, whether they want to bring in new talent or upskill their current talent and their current workforce, what do they need? And this is the insight that's so valuable to us as an organisation, because all of our products and qualifications within construction her employer validated as well to make sure that they are fit for purpose.
Yeah, brilliant. And so are all the qualifications at C&G City and Guilds, are they all level 1, level 2, level 3 in the standard NVQ, or do you do some of the what we're beginning to call micro qualifications or standalones?
So we do a lot of training qualifications. So if you can picture a full-time learner at college who may not be employed yet, we do qualifications that suit them and how they can develop their skills in order to maybe gain employment through an apprenticeship, which I'll come on to. We offer the range of NVQs as well, which is taken straight from our National Occupational Standards. So we have a range of NVQs across the trades and disciplines. And then we're moving into other niche areas such as green skills, retrofit, sustainability. And then we have our endpoint assessments and our EPAs, which is how the apprenticeships are now assessed, as there's no on-program qualification. So we have quite a wealth of products, as we call them, in our portfolio, not just sort of qualifications. We also have, like we said, assessments, and we have NVQs as well as general qualifications as well. So we have quite a broad range, and construction portfolio probably has one of the largest numbers of qualifications. I think I did a little bit of a look the other day. We've got something like, I don't know, 50, 60 plus qualifications across the sector, because we don't just serve England. Obviously we serve Wales, and they have their own bespoke products in Wales now as well. So and we're always looking at how we can support our nations, not just nations in the UK, but also our international market as well, because we have customers all over the globe.
Brilliant. I mean, I think it might be worth just talking to people about, let's take it. I mean, I think apprenticeships are, the gold standard, and I think increasingly attractive as people in university are wondering what they're going to do with a large amount of debt when they come out. I think it might be worth just talking, just through the process of how an apprentice gets an apprenticeship, because I think it's often misunderstood by people managing companies and managing large projects. They require these, they rely on these people with apprenticeships, and often have little idea of how they get there.
They do, and I remember when I got my apprenticeship, and what it meant was sitting with the Yellow Pages. I don't know if you remember that. It was an actual.
I'm afraid I'm old enough to remember Yellow Pages.
So it was sitting with the Yellow Pages at the time, looking for potential companies that, and a case of ringing them up. Now they use other platforms and medias to gain that. Colleges is a fantastic starting point. We have fantastic colleges in this country who do phenomenal training, and I'm so lucky that I get to see that nearly every day. Not just working within one, but I go around so many. And you'll have what we call full-time learners, and these are learners who may not have an employer or may not be ready for an apprenticeship, who are looking to get into that routine of construction learning, and then hopefully get some training, not just on the hand skills, but also on their knowledge and maybe some softer skills, to make them employable. They could then apply for any apprenticeship vacancies that college may have, or if they know of any employees that are taking on apprentices, they would apply for those vacancies. Or if you're a school leaver and you know exactly what you want to do, as I did, all right, I want to be a carpenter, search for my own apprenticeship, and I was lucky enough to find a local employer who took me on and sort of went through that process. Whereas now it is slightly different.
Yeah. Well, Jason, can I just stop you there? You talked about doing an introduction or what we might call the basic course to tell you what the industry does. Do you want to just sort of say a little bit about that? Because quite often people see that as the first step in an apprenticeship. So whether that's funded or not and how that works is quite important.
Luckily, they are funded through government, and those are the ones where learners will come onto a course for a year or two. They would do a level 1 and develop their, the dexterity skills that they would need for the sector, depending on what trade they want to go in. And then they can progress that and do a level 2. And the hope is that hopefully after that year or two that they will progress into the trade in some format. Some adults may do this route and then go on and get an opportunity to work in the sector and do an MBQ, but the majority will try and get in through an apprenticeship route, which is funded, and then obviously spend the next 2 or 3 years training as an apprentice, gaining those valuable site skills, and then preparing them for their endpoint assessment, which will come at the end of that apprenticeship program. And what happens now is, because you've got an EPA, you don't have any on-program qualification anymore. What the colleges do now is they can bespoke all of their training to suit what the learner is and isn't getting exposed to in the workplace probably as often as they need to. So I am a big fan of the apprenticeship standards, because the skills that the learners need have to be so more well-rounded now. I think they're a very good positive for the sector.
Yeah. So just coming back to the levels, I mean, is it worth, if you do this induction program, you've got a level 1. To actually complete an apprenticeship, you're generally doing a level 3, aren't you? That's
level 2, level 3,
to level 2 and level 3. And one of the challenges that I know we have at our college, at Malton College, is trying to keep people in the college once they finish a level 2, because suddenly they're attractive people to have out on site. They're capable of doing the basic stuff, and there's obviously the allure of being paid. But actually, it's really important to keep people in training to get their level 3 in my experience, because it makes them a far more competent and capable person.
Absolutely, and keeping them on an apprenticeship as well. So it's understanding that they can do a level 2 as a full-time learner, but they're not classed as competent at that stage. They need to be going into an apprenticeship, and whether they transfer into an apprenticeship at level 2 and progress through that onto level 3, fantastic. But yeah, learners, and that's one of the challenges the college face, is looking for those employers to take on apprentices, and then educating the learners on the value of making sure that they can progress into an apprenticeship to become fully competent, because that's what the industry needs, is competent individuals, not people that have just done a year or 2 training and have very little site experience. That's just not what the industry needs. It needs those competent people to come out at the end of an apprenticeship, or at the after doing an MVQ of some sort.
Jason, it might be worth talking about the role of employers in this, because they're not just there to train people up, are they? There's a really active role that those employers who take on apprentices have the opportunity of contributing to.
Certainly, absolutely, and they the cornerstone of training in the country. Without employers, apprentices can't get trained. We can send people to college, but they'll not be competent. So the industry needs the employers to be on board and understand the value of an apprentice. And I used to be an employer, and I've had apprentices in the past, and I really appreciated the value that individual brought to my company at the time. It wasn't without its pitfalls, I think, in the interest of honesty. There's a lot of employees out there probably had some indifferent experiences. But I think if we can get over those barriers, that there's a lot of young people out there who would be fantastic additions to their organizations and to the sector. And it's also interesting for learners to understand the diversity of our sector. We have a number of videos that we can share with your listeners as well around the construction sector, because it's not always the image that people perceive. It's much more than that. Construction has a place for everybody, regardless. You know what I mean? There's and that's, I think, one of the beauty of our sector, and is the diversity of it. Whereas we're trying to encourage more diversity with the workforce, but when you look at it as a sector, it's probably one of the most diverse that we have, and something that we certainly try and celebrate.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really, for me, why the apprenticeship is a gold standard, because over a three-year period, you get exposed to so much. And our industry has so much you have to be good at before you can deem yourself capable, and that's
Absolutely
one of the brilliant things about the industry.
But it's so much more than that, because I owe everything to construction. I do the job I do now because of my background in construction, in carpentry. I got into FE because I was a carpenter. I was able to build my house and put a roof over my children's head, literally, because I built it. I owe everything, my whole living, to construction and carpentry. And for me, it all started watching a certain construction program called Our Vida's Pet, which is
I remember, yes.
synonymous with our region of the Northeast, and something that that camaraderie, that team ethos and ethic, creating something, and that is what that's what attracted me to the sector, because it's, if I'm honest, it's not something I'd ever considered, but after seeing that and watching it over and over and over again, that's what I want to do. And then, you know, I moved from the local employer, fantastic employer who I still know and speak to today, to running my own little construction carpentry business, to, you know, traveling the world a little bit, doing what I do, and then transitioning into further education and then onto City and Guild. So the path we can all take is so diverse, as I may already mentioned, but you know, it can give so many people so much as a sector, and I think that's something that I don't think the sector celebrate that too often, or not often enough in my eyes.
I think it's absolutely fundamental we do, because I've been chairing a number of groups recently, and it's amazing how many senior business leaders started in the industry as apprenticeships.
Yeah.
And a bit like you, they're running their own businesses, and some of them are running very large businesses.
And that's it, you know, and I know it's not construction, but if you look at, say, Gordon Ramsay, he started off as a chef, and now, you know, a global entrepreneur, has restaurants all over the world, you know, in the Savoy in London, and different types of restaurants, high end and burger restaurants as well. And it all starts from the apprenticeship he did as a chef. And, you know, everybody's journey can be different, and construction is exactly the same as that.
Yeah, yeah. So I think you and I have both agreed that we've got a gold standard here, and we need to look after it.
Certainly.
How does it change? How does it adapt to suit the current conditions? Because, you know, I always worry that, you know, we're training, we look backwards for training, and yet we really need to look forward for careers of the people we're training. And I think, you know, if we could celebrate some of the skills our students are coming through with, particularly around technical, and, you know, there's absolutely no fear about IT, whereas the companies they're joining are desperately in need of those skills, in addition to the hard skills they're being taught as an apprenticeship.
Absolutely. And I was at an industry forum at a local college in Concert in County Durham last week, Derwentide College, and it was interesting to hear the employees that they had around the table there, and how they were talking about the digital skills, and you know, of people, how the people and the workforce they have that's progressing through their organization, and how they looking to develop those digital skills, because everything's done on applications now and such. So, you know, it's interesting to see how, from an employee's point of view, what they're expecting and hopefully looking to obtain from future training. With regards to qualifications and the changing landscape skills, we're always trying to adapt and update products when needed, you know, because quite often, especially with technology, you could develop a qualification today and by next week it's out of date, because all of a sudden there's a new technology on the market.
Yeah.
So it's a very difficult landscape to keep up to speed with. What I think we try and do is give the person, or give the individuals, the rounded skills in order for them to progress and then develop, if it's specific skills in a certain technology. And what we ask for is for employees, like I said, to validate our products and have a look at our content and our assessments. Would these be fit for purpose? Is this what employees are looking for? We have things like employer and industry boards that my colleague Richie West runs. And they're going from strength to strength, and obviously our relationship with NFB is progressing beautifully, and, you know, hopefully, you know, we can utilize NFB members to support that process, because it's one thing for us to say, well, this is what we think should be in it, and then we put it to market, and it's not really what employees want. It's imperative that we have that insight and intel through the development of that product. So we're doing more and more of that, and obviously a lot of it is led through government change. I know we've had a change in government over the past year, but, you know, we've actually been developing some new level 2 qualifications that are now live, and they are ready for first teaching in September. And we're working on future products at level 3 and level 1 as well. So we are actually changing our landscape of some of our level 1 products. So there's always change in there. And then with apprenticeships, you're governed by the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education and the Trailblazer groups. So we have to react if there's a new standard released, a new version. We have to then react to that and create an assessment in line with that updated standard. We do try and support that process, and have offered ourselves to the Institute and to the Trailblazer groups if they wanted City and Guilds support and involvement. You know, we're more than happy to be a part of that process. And support them.
Those Trailblazer groups are really fundamental, aren't they? Because effectively that's where the employers come together as as a group of employers.
Yeah.
There's generally a project manager from IFATE, from the Institute for Technical Education and Apprenticeships, and they then are responsible effectively for guiding IFATE into what what we call the KSBs, or they're now moved on a bit, haven't they?
Yeah, certainly. And I would encourage any employees, no matter how big or small they may be, the opinion of a one-man band is just as valuable as the opinion of a macro company. So I would encourage employers to get involved in those trailblazer groups if they can, because it's certainly a positive way of influencing what they want out of their apprentices and their apprenticeships.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You're pushing the views of the one-man band and the small employers, because I think
absolutely
the number of apprentices employed by the SME sector is actually proportionally much larger, isn't it?
Yeah, majority.
It's really important that their views are heard, so that we can reflect what we require, what those people require in their businesses.
Yeah, and they make up, I think it's over 90% of our sector.
Yeah.
So their voice should be heard. They are, so important to the sector. And like you said, yeah, they probably employ the vast majority, high percentages of apprentices that are trained in this country, and they are the bread and butter of the sector essentially. So so important to us, and we work with so many large, small, micro organizations and SMEs, and we take on board the opinion of all, and all their feedback.
Yeah. Jason, one of the sort of the challenges I think we have in the industry is that we're looking to fill holes. But the industry is conservative with a small c. We're very, we look at what we've done and delivered previously to make sure we know what how we're going to handle the next project as well. And using that is quite a challenge. And you'll know in carpentry we've had some of the challenges in changing the apprenticeship. I think do we still need to do a cut roof in a carpentry apprentice? Probably, but there aren't many of those around, are there?
Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not. I think it's in there, but I don't. I had to do it, and
well,
the thing is, and this is I'm a carpenter. There's, you can put me on my pedestal now, and I can talk forever on this. As a carpenter, that you should be able to put on a cut roof. I understand the value of prefabricated truss roofs and the value they offer to the national house builders, but someone like myself, who I actually live in the area, I serve my apprenticeship in Weardale in County Durham. There's very few 1%, or probably less than that, 0.5% of the buildings in Weardale are new builds. So when I was an apprentice, I didn't have a choice, because we didn't put up truss roofs. I was working on barn conversions and traditional construction, and I was so lucky to have that opportunity. So every roof I ever did up until I actually finished my apprenticeship was a hand cut roof. I'd never put on a truss roof until I finished my apprenticeship, and then realised, it's easier than what I was doing before. Why don't we do more of this? But from a skill set, I've just done some work on my own property, and I'm having to polish up on my skills. It's because I thought I want to put a hand cut roof on. Even on my own property, there's no trusses in my house, all hand cut, which wasn't easy, but
you'd expect it from you, Jason. I'm sorry,
but that's what those type of skills give you. And it's same when we talk about installing stairs and these other things. There's a lot of skill set that we don't want to lose in our trades, which can be quite easy. Lose that skill set if we start watering down and discrediting the trades, and people train. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. You might have done a year or two of college and you've trained up in certain things, but it's how you take that training and those skills to a competence level, and the only way you can do that is in the workplace. And that's the value of it, and that the range of skills and having that exposure to those different type of tasks and jobs is so invaluable to apprentices, and not just apprentices, but people looking to upskill and train into the sector.
I mean, it's a really important point. Certainly we haven't touched on green skills yet, but green skills are going to change or morph over the next 10, 15, 20 years, certainly over the careers of the people who are coming into it now. And actually an apprenticeship that they do at sort of finish sort of early 20s may not be appropriate for a career in the industry. So are City and Guilds looking at micro qualifications or any ways of enhancing that qualification process to keep them relevant?
Certainly. And it's why we're attending the industry forums I went to at the local college in Consett last week, and it's to gain these insight, what is it that employers need, and what can we add on as little bolt-ons, so we have not so much around the digital tech, although we do have some qualifications in that space because we have a digital portfolio as well, that can support our sector. And that's the beauty of City and Guilds is, and I'm kind of going off tangent here a little bit, because we cover so many different sectors, from construction to hair and beauty to building services to digital. We've got a digital portfolio that can support the construction sector and our portfolio, and we did that for Wales. We actually developed a digital skills in construction qualification, which gives learners an insight and an introduction in how they can use digital tech to enhance the work they do. And it's that was a great addition, and that was at the request of the framework that was developed through Wales Government and CITB. But as a qualification, it's a fantastic grounding for learners who are looking to maybe add that, or colleges who are looking to add that to their apprenticeships. They could deliver it to their learners, and give them that exposure to how they can use digital tech in there. And then again, it's for large and small organizations. It doesn't have to be all the robotic dogs doing all the surveying and everything. Sometimes it's the case of using some simple software to increase productivity in what you do as a it could be a one-man band, it could be how you're doing your invoicing or whatever. There's so much how it can be applied, and that's another good thing about that type of qualification we do.
And that qualification presumably available to people throughout their careers. They don't have to. You don't have to be doing an apprenticeship to pick those qualifications up.
No, the plan will be speak to your local college or training provider, and hopefully they can come and speak to us, and we can support them in how they can deliver that qualification and start certifying learners in that space. So if training providers have any questions, that's essentially what my job is, and my colleagues, we can go out and support them in either launching or developing or delivering and assessing one of our qualifications or one of our products.
Brilliant. Let me move on to green skills, Jason, because I know that's in your title. So I'm looking forward to a few answers here, because I've been chairing a skills group for the Solar Task Force, and one of the challenges I was set was, please can you find 60,000 people and make sure they're all fully qualified by 2035. And
good luck.
So I had my work cut out, particularly there wasn't a single solar qualification in the country. Now that's beginning to change now. We're beginning to get those qualifications into apprenticeships up and down the country. Well, certainly the roofing and the electrical qualifications now have some sort of solar put into them. Can you talk around about how those sort of qualifications may be generated, or how if for new technologies coming through, how that might happen, and how we might get more qualifications around the green, particularly retrofit, which is an enormous challenge for the whole industry in the breadth of what we need to cover.
It is, and we have our retrofit portfolio, which is slowly evolving. So we've recently just launched our new level 4 in retrofit assessing, and we have some level 2 qualifications which give learners more of an introduction, and then they progress up to level 4, and we're currently in development of the level 5 retrofit coordinator qualification. But what supports that, like our we've got a BSc portfolio which supports construction as a sector, because within their portfolio they have a lot of the qualifications around solar, air source, all that type of thing. And also within automotive, believe it or not, because we have the EV charging as well, which kind of comes into play. So this is a good example of how 3 sectors or 3 portfolios are kind of have one common interest and goal, and we're constantly trying to evolve our retrofit qualifications, and we're looking at areas where people need to upskill. I think unfortunately for this, it's more of a marathon, not a sprint, this journey for us, because like technology is constantly evolving, so is the world of green skills. But given the people the groundings that they need to enter the industry within green skills, who can then, once they're in those positions, can upskill in the certain technologies, because obviously a lot of manufacturers do their own training on certain products. But if we can give them a grounding and a foundation, pun intended, where they can then progress and build those skill sets in the different technologies that they would need to, then that's what our sector, what our portfolios hopefully do. I can't speak fully for BSE because it's not my area of expertise, and my colleague Simon will be able to talk more about that. But what we are doing as well is, you can get two for the price of one with us. If you wanted, if employers wanted us to come along, both of us can come along and engage with employers and do and give people an update in what we've got. We do it to colleges. Recently before Christmas, a whole round of networks where I was all over the place, updating them on the new qualifications and what we have coming in green skills and retrofit. So and we'll be looking to do more of that in sort of the springtime onwards this year. So any colleges out there listening, or any employers, any employer groups, or NFB regions that want us to come along and provide updates, we can certainly do that.
That's really helpful, because I know education is one of those key things that we have to get right. We need informed people in the industry, and that's part of the reason we're doing the podcast, of course, isn't it? To try and make people aware of the challenges that we've got bringing fresh people into the industry. I suppose from what you were saying there, I mean, one of the challenges I think we discovered in the solar task force was, or the concern, that the world was moving faster than the awarding bodies could keep up with. So we needed skills, and we could see skills developing over the next 10 years that employers may not be aware of at the moment, but which we would be, as a sort of organization, had to look forward to see what was required. How can we make sure that the apprenticeships we've got are, by the time they come to fruition, because it is quite a long time to bring an apprenticeship, or even some of the more simple courses to fruition, how can we make sure they actually are relevant when they come in?
That's an excellent question, and probably one I can't answer, because it's an ever-changing sector, isn't it? Like I said,
it is.
If an apprentice does a 3-year apprenticeship, the apprenticeship they do today, there could be a different version by the time they come at the end, that other learners are working on, against different KSBs. But then also from an evolving point of view, it could be, there'll be many changes over those 3 years. There is some things you can do as a sector, as an industry, as employers, because within Sitting Guilds, we also, as much as we have qualifications and we have assessments, we also offer a quality assurance set of products as well, called Assured. So this is where employers or manufacturers or colleges can create their own bespoke training, and they can align it to, if it's solar or whatever you really want, and Sitting Guilds will rubber stamp it, we'll quality assure it, we'll monitor the process for you, and then you guys, the employers or whomever is delivering it, can offer digital credentials as a recognition. So it's called an assured route. It's not an official qualification as such that's potentially recognised nationally, but with the Sitting Guild, the power of the brand of Sitting Guilds, and if it's something bespoke to train, and if an employer wanted to train up some individuals on certain products or some type of digital or whatever training they wanted, they could do that at their own pace. They could give them a digital credential, quality assure it, and then if that changes or evolves, it's easier to update that product and update that training, as opposed to having an official qualification. So there are some things that can be done, but that would have to be led by the industry and the training provider in order to do that. And I do know that there is some training providers out there doing that with certain green skills, and they offer the Sitting Guilds assured products on a vast range of green skills courses that they offer.
No, I think that's exactly where we need to be, isn't it? We need the employers saying these are the skills we need, and if you've got the micro credentials or the opportunity to train those through, then we can pick those up. But they do need to be, I think, made very aware. As both the employers to say they're there, but also the students. And I'm aware one of the challenges we have with our students is that they think they've done the apprenticeship and that's them done. Whereas most of us know we've never stopped learning, and we've never got to, we never
Yeah.
finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And they say it, isn't it, when you pass your test driving a car, now you start learning properly.
Absolutely.
And it's the same with the sector, you know, you get through your apprenticeship or your EPA, and you get let loose on the big wide world of construction, and that's when you start to learn your trade, and there's so much value in that, you know, and having those experiences. And that goes back to, like I said, the diversity of our sector is not just diverse as in what you could do or the people that could be involved, it's where it could take you, you know. And as a young lad from a rural part of the northeast, you know, getting that exposure and experience of working in different locations in the bigger cities and that type of stuff was so valuable to how you develop as an individual and as a person as well. And you know, it does shape you as an individual, and how you can contribute more to society.
Yeah, and I think the great thing about apprenticeship, or many great things about apprenticeships, but one of the ones for me is that it teaches you to work with people. It teaches
Yeah.
you teaches you team skills and how to manage people, and that's a rarer commodity than it was certainly when I started in the industry. And
I hope people realize just how it could be such a little, something little that they do, how it could contribute so much. So one example is, you know, there's a local primary school that my two boys went to, one of them still there, and, you know, the children don't do anything. Do they know about construction, or forget construction? You know, do kids even work with their hands anymore? I'm sure they do, but you know, the head teacher at the school said, would I like to do some woodwork classes? How do I wood? I've got no benches, I've got no vices, I've got nothing. So we did it. We did it. Again, local college, Derwentide College helped me. I funded most of it myself. They supplied me with some tools and bits and pieces. And we set it away, and we did 3 or 4 groups. So there was 40 kids went through, and we made bird boxes and bug hotels and different things. And it's just to get them to experience. And we didn't have anybody cut themselves, which you know, every day I used to go in thinking, please not today, please not today. You know, because I was dealing with everything from sort of 7 and 8 year olds, teaching, you know, let's hammer some nails into a piece of wood and make something, and having that sense of pride of I've made a birdhouse and I can take it home, and I've made a bug hotel, but getting children just to work with their hands a little bit, and you know, teaching them that this is something you can do when you get big and older, and you know, this is something you can do. You can take these and you could build something bigger. And you know, having children understand that, and I refer to them as children because, you know, we try and do careers advice at 16-year-old. At that point, I know that a lot of 16-year-olds still don't know what they want to do, but how many get exposure throughout that childhood and their journey through comprehensive education, that the construction is an option. You know, a lot of it is university, whereas, you know, if you can look at our sector, it has a place for everybody. You know, apprenticeships, I think, are fantastic. You learn a skill, you earn a living, and a skill that can take you anywhere in this world, and apply your trade. And that was another good thing of how Vida's impact in Germany and in the UK or in Spain. And that was the thing that sort of was an attraction for me. I can utilize these skills, and I can do it in Walsingham in County Durham. I can go to Newcastle, wherever, and be a carpenter. And that's another beauty of what we do in the sector.
We've had a good canter through, Jason, on all sorts of. I just wondered if you'd say a bit about the soft skills that get trained. And we talked around about actually you pick up some of those soft skills as part of working in a business at that age. But soft skills are increasingly important, aren't they, coming through? And actually, a lot of our students, particularly the COVID generation, are struggling with some of those soft skills.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do within our training process to make that better or easier for them?
Expose them to it.
Okay.
Give them that exposure, give them those experiences. If you're a local employer and you can support your college by giving a learner a day a week, you know, and treating them in the right way when they're in your organization, let's rip the band-aid off them and give them that exposure, and show them what our sector is all about and how fantastic it is, and give them those experiences. Colleges are doing all they can within their parameters and within their restrictions. They wouldn't forgive me if I didn't say that, but they are, and you know, one thing that we have is fantastic colleges that do phenomenal construction training. And they're trying to develop those softer skills. Those are employability skills as well for sort of 16, 17-year-olds, that routine of, yes, we know they've had a routine of going to comprehensive school and everything, but it's slightly different, and trying to gear them up for the world of work, the routines that they'll face there and things. So I know colleges are doing all they can on that side of things, but employers can support with giving learners that exposure. If they can't do a day a week, could they invite a class over for a site visit, and where learners may feel more comfortable in a group and those type of things. So if you've got colleges approaching you, these are the type of things that you can do to help influence learners in their transition and on their learning journey in construction.
Yeah, and it's absolutely crucial, but it's also very rewarding. I find
it brings it to life for them. It really does. It's one thing seeing something in a small college workshop or on a PowerPoint presentation or in a classroom learning, but to see it on site and see it come to life, it just means so much more. They can picture it a lot better.
Yeah. Jason, we've had a great talk around through apprenticeships and what City and Guilds can do. I normally sort of finish by sort of saying, well, this podcast is often a call for arms, a call to action. Is there anything out you'd like to put out to employers there? Any message you'd like to give them? Say, get involved, get
Please, yes.
Go and do something. I don't know. What would you like to tell people to do?
Employers and industry can make such a difference. No matter how big or how small you are, one-man band to some of the biggest employers we've got in the sector. You can support your local schools with, going in, doing talks. You can portray that message about our sector in children and our young people at an early age to sort of influence their thinking around, construction may be a place for me. I'm really good at maths. Rather than being a maths teacher, could I be a QS? Or, I enjoy working with my hands, but I've got good GCSE grades. That doesn't matter. You could be a fantastic carpenter. Absolutely. All these type of things can influence. Work with your colleges, those add exposure to site. You could go in and speak to learners. There's so much employers can do with regards to their local colleges and schools that are around them, to portray the positive message that is the sector. And from a City and Guilds perspective, get involved with us. Tell us what you want. Give us the blunt messages that you need to. We need this and we need that and we need the other. And that's what the employees at that event did last week. But it was fantastic insight for myself, because then I take that back to the construction team at City and Guilds and say, well, this is what the employees are saying now. We maybe need to start thinking and looking at our portfolio strategically different. Let's invite them in. Let's do some more visits. Let's have those more conversations. Is there something we can do? Yes, sometimes our hands are tied by regulations and stuff, but they can always influence in a positive way. And if anybody wants to get in touch, happy to put my details to NFB on the website or wherever. And my colleagues, Richie West and Nick Taylor, and we're more than happy to come and support employer events as well. So please just get in touch. It'd be fantastic to have those conversations. And just a huge thank you to yourself for giving us the time to come and share this with your listeners and with your NFB members.
Jason, it's a hugely important topic, bringing enthusiastic, trained, qualified students into our industry. And I'm really pleased that you've given up your time today to talk around about how it works and how we as an industry should be doing things a lot better. But the opportunity is there, and I'm always impressed. The students at Malton College never cease to impress me, as that they're going to change the world. We've just got to give them the opportunity.
That adrenaline you get when learners complete or progress into an apprenticeship or pass an EPA or finish a full-time course or even just attend for a full week or attend on time, that adrenaline is phenomenal, and that positive impact is something you can't bottle. And it's a phenomenal sector. Like I said, it's given me everything, and I just hope that it can give for others as well, regardless of their background. So yeah, just a huge thanks to NFB.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jason, and wish you well.
No problem. Thanks for the time, Mark. Cheers.